Have you ever wondered how our ancestors hunted mammoths, those prehistoric giants? For many, the idea of hunting such an immense creature seems impossible. However, primitive tribes had such ingenious and coordinated strategies that it makes us wonder, how could we, with all our technology, learn from them? Mammoth hunting was much more than a fight for survival. It was a training ground for developing skills such as communication, social organization, and strategic thinking. Each hunt was a test of courage, intelligence, and adaptation to the environment. Are you ready to discover how these hunters used their wits and teamwork to bring down mammoths? Then read on and get ready to explore the incredible tactics that helped shape humanity. Imagine yourself in the middle of a snowy expanse, your heavy breathing cutting through the cold air. The scene is tense, but the strategy has already been mapped out. Collective hunting was the key to success in prehistoric times. To hunt mammoths and other giant animals, our ancestors depended on cooperation among tribe members. There was no room for individualism. The only chance of success lay in pooling strength, skill, and intelligence. They divided tasks and used the terrain to their advantage, setting traps or cornering the animals in strategic locations. Mammoth hunting required more than just physical strength. It was a true test of strategy. Prehistoric hunters couldn't rely on a single person to hunt such a massive animal. Instead, it required several people working together, synchronizing their movements and exchanging signals. One hunter could lure the mammoth into a specific area, while another positioned itself to block its escape. These collective hunting techniques are a prime example of how collaboration was essential for survival, something that still resonates today. What truly differentiates collective hunting in prehistory from modern practices is the complete reliance on direct, wordless communication. Hunters communicated through gestures, shouts, and signals. Every movement had a clear purpose, as if each member of the tribe were a vital piece of a puzzle. It was a dance of coordination and trust. Success was not just a matter of individual skill, but the ability to work as a single body, as a tribe united by a common purpose: survival. When we think of primitive hunters, the first image that comes to mind is a rudimentary spear, right? But the truth is that to face animals like the mammoth, our ancestors had much more than simple stone tools. They developed a true hunting technology, with weapons like sharp spears and thrusters atlats, which allowed them to launch projectiles over impressive distances. Technological innovation in the Stone Age wasn't just about making tools, but also about understanding how they could be used strategically to maximize hunting efficiency. These propellers, in particular, are a true marvel of primitive engineering. Used to launch spears or stakes, they provided a crucial advantage over mammoths, allowing hunters to hit the animals from a distance and with precision. Fire, while seemingly a simple invention, was a fundamental tool in hunting. Besides being used to illuminate hunting areas and ward off predators, fire was also crucial for attracting animals under certain conditions. It not only aided hunting, but also the processing of meat after capture, making the tribe's survival more efficient. Looking at these tools, it's clear that creativity and the need for innovation were powerful drivers for early humans. It wasn't just about knowing how to hunt, but about creating and refining tools that could handle the challenges of hunting mammoths. The use of propellers and the mastery of fire symbolize a true technological revolution. And contrary to what many people think, this technology wasn't just for hunting. It also influenced how tribes organized themselves, from the division of tasks to the maintenance of their colonies. Mammoth hunting was a complex operation where communication wasn't just important, it was vital. Without the technology we have today, prehistoric hunters had to rely on signals, gestures, and even shouts to coordinate the hunt. Imagine a hunter positioning himself behind a giant rock, ready to guide a mammoth into a trap. To do so, he needed to send clear signals to the other hunters, without the animal noticing. This primitive communication may not have been spoken, but it was undoubtedly extremely effective. These signals were more than simple gestures, they were a language of survival. Hunters needed to understand each other without words, an intuitive communication system that united them on a single mission. Cries and warning sounds warned of animal movement, while gestures and facial expressions indicated directions and strategies. Communication at this level was not only a tool for coordination, but also a testament to how humans developed the ability to work together. Even without formal language, collective hunting depended on mutual trust. Every gesture, cry, and signal carried profound meaning, and hunters needed to be so in tune with one another that a miscommunication could be fatal. If one hunter missed a signal or misunderstood another's gesture, the entire hunt could fail. This demonstrates how communication, even without words, was a determining factor in successful mammoth hunting. This level of coordination not only ensured survival, but also strengthened social bonds between tribe members, creating a bond of trust that extended beyond the hunt. Mammoth hunting wasn't just about food, it was the driving force behind human evolution. Hunting such a large and powerful animal required more than brute strength. It required strategic thinking. How to position the hunters, when and where to strike. These questions required a sharp mind, capable of anticipating the mammoth's behavior and coordinating the actions of the entire tribe. The need to plan and execute these complex hunts helped develop our ancestors' strategic intelligence, something that sets them apart to this day. Beyond strategy, mammoth hunting also played a fundamental role in the evolution of communication. The ability to communicate effectively through signs and gestures was essential for coordinating teamwork. More than that, the fact that tribes needed to organize themselves for this monumental task led to the improvement of social organization. Mammoth hunting was not an individual endeavor, it was a collective task, requiring shared responsibilities, leadership, and a hierarchy of tasks. What began as a hunt for survival soon became a model for organization and teamwork. Finally, the impact of mammoth hunting went beyond the physical practice. The way hunters worked together, trusting each other and sharing successes and failures, strengthened bonds within the tribe. This was fundamental to the development of more structured societies. Tribes began to understand the importance of social cohesion, mutual trust, and collective planning. Mammoth hunting, in a way, taught our ancestors how collective effort and teamwork could ensure the survival and prosperity of the community. The mammoth hunt was undoubtedly an event of great importance in prehistoric communities, but was also steeped in symbolism and spirituality. After hunting a mammoth, hunters often performed spiritual rituals, thanking the animal spirit for offering itself to the tribe. The mammoth, being such an imposing and sacred creature, was seen as a being endowed with power. These rituals were not only intended to ensure a successful hunt, but also to maintain a spiritual balance between humans and the natural world, honoring the animal as a source of life and sustenance. These rituals were often followed by artistic representations that symbolized the spiritual connection with the mammoth. Cave paintings, such as those found in caves in Europe, depict scenes of mammoth and hunters in an almost mystical setting. For the people of the time, these representations were not simply records of a hunt, but spiritual messages that communicated respect, reverence, and gratitude. By painting or carving these animals, the tribes expressed a deep connection with the forces of nature and the spirit of the mammoth, something essential to maintaining the tribe's balance and harmony. The symbolism of mammoths went beyond mere hunting. They were seen as symbols of strength, endurance, and wisdom, qualities admired by the tribes. Often, the mammoth was depicted in initiation rituals or spiritual ceremonies, representing the cycle of life and death, renewal, and transformation. By retrieving mammoth meat, hunters not only ensured material survival, but also sought spiritual strengthening for the tribe. These rituals, intertwined with symbolic and spiritual practices, were fundamental to maintaining unity and the continuity of community life. Mammoth hunting was a decisive factor in the extinction of these imposing animals. With the advancement of collective hunting techniques and the increase in the human population, mammoths became constant targets, without the opportunity to regenerate quickly. Large-scale hunting, often without considering the environmental impact, led to population declines. This situation was exacerbated by climate change, which began to affect the Earth, modifying the habitat of these animals. Combined, these human and natural pressures created a perfect scenario for the extinction of mammoths. In addition to overhunting, global warming following the end of the last ice age radically altered the ecosystems where mammoths lived. The tundra they inhabited, rich in vegetation for their food, began to disappear as temperatures warmed. Meanwhile, climate change affected not only the mammoths' food availability, but also their migratory behavior. With less food and adverse weather conditions, mammoths became increasingly vulnerable paving the way for their extinction. Today, when we look back at the mammoth extinction, we can see that it was a multifaceted process. Overhunting and climate change were not isolated causes, but rather interconnected factors that acted together to extinguish a species that dominated ecosystems for thousands of years. This extinction serves as a powerful reminder of the effects human actions can have on the environment and the species around us. By reflecting on the ecological impact of mammoth hunting, we can learn valuable lessons about the importance of balancing our needs with the preservation of the natural world. Mammoth hunting wasn't the same in every region of the world. Each tribe and hunting community developed its own techniques and strategies, adapted to the specific environment in which they lived. In Siberia, for example, hunters used the harsh winter conditions to their advantage, creating ice traps and camouflage burrows in the snow. They also specialized in hunting young mammoths, which were easier to capture due to their smaller size and less experience. The vastness of the icy plains required hunters to work in a highly coordinated manner. In North America, mammoth hunting tactics were equally ingenious, but adapted to more varied climate and terrain. Hunters, like the famous Clovis, used spears and sharp arrowheads to attack mammoths, taking advantage of their ability to hunt from a distance. Furthermore, techniques of surrounding mammoths, forcing them into more restricted areas, were common. In some cases, hunters used fire to create barriers or drive mammoths into more vulnerable locations, demonstrating the creative use of available technology. What these different hunting tactics show us is how incredibly adaptable and creative mammoth hunters were. Despite being separated by vast geographical distances, their techniques had something in common. Both were based on collaboration, innovation, and the intelligent use of the environment. The ability to adapt strategy to the terrain, climate, and type of mammoth available was a direct reflection of the intelligence and flexibility required for survival in a wild and unpredictable world. In prehistoric times, wisdom and knowledge essential for survival were not passed down through books or written records. They were transmitted from one generation to the next through observation, imitation, and, above all, oral communication. Elders, with their hunting experience, taught younger people how to hunt mammoths, how to use tools, and how to understand nature signs. This transmission of knowledge was not only technical, but also spiritual, with lessons on respect for animals and nature's spirits. These lessons were passed on practically, often through everyday activities. Hunting, for example, was a veritable outdoor lesson, where the elders showed the younger ones the tricks and strategies needed to capture a mammoth. But it wasn't just about teaching how to throw a spear or set a trap. Values were also imparted, such as teamwork, patience, and courage in the face of immense challenges. The experience was shared, with everyone actively participating, absorbing the wisdom of those who came before them. This type of intergenerational learning, focused on practice and example, was fundamental to the tribe's continuity. The wisdom of the elders not only prepared the young to hunt, but also shaped them to be leaders, protectors, and guardians of tradition. Oral teaching, with its stories and myths, was a way to preserve the tribe's identity and ensure that the knowledge necessary for survival was not lost. This cycle of learning and knowledge transmission is one of the pillars of human societies, something that still persists in many cultures around the world. Mammoths were not only animals hunted for survival, but also powerful symbols in prehistoric culture. They represented strength, wisdom, and even abundance. For the tribes, a mammoth was not only a source of food, but also a sacred being associated with spiritual and cosmic aspects. A successful mammoth hunt was seen as a great achievement, a blessing from the gods that guaranteed the tribe's sustenance and prosperity. For many, these giant animals were mystical creatures whose presence and death fueled the tribe's culture and worldview. Artistic representations of mammoths, such as those found in caves across Europe and Asia, are testament to the symbolic importance of these animals. Paintings and sculptures portrayed mammoths not just as prey, but as revered beings, with details that demonstrate a profound respect for their grandeur. Some scholars believe that these mammoths represented, for the tribes, the balance between life and death, which makes these representations even more meaningful. They were not simply objects of hunting, but symbolic figures of connection with the spiritual world and the wild. Mammoths also played a central role in tribal myths and legends. Their stories were passed down orally as part of the tribe's wisdom tradition. Many prehistoric myths speak of mammoths as spiritual beings or entities that protected hunters. The mammoth hunt, therefore, was not just a physical event, but a symbolic and spiritual journey that reinforced the tribe's ties to its founding myths and the natural world that surrounded them. The mammoth was thus intertwined with the cultural and spiritual identity of early human societies. Mammoth hunting was not only vital to the tribe's survival, but also a direct reflection of how prehistoric societies were organized. To confront such a large and imposing animal, the tribe needed to divide itself into specific roles, with each member performing a crucial function. Some were responsible for luring the mammoth, others for spears, and of course, those specialized in trapping and encircling. This division of labor was a first step in the formation of more complex social structures, where collaboration was essential to the success of the hunt. Beyond the division of labor, mammoth hunting also highlighted the importance of leadership. For a hunt to be successful, someone was needed to lead the operation, make quick decisions, and maintain order among the hunters. Natural leaders, with experience and respect from other tribe members, emerged in hunting situations, demonstrating that leadership was deeply linked to strategic skill and knowledge of nature. These leaders were often the oldest or most experienced, whose decisions could ensure the survival of all. Furthermore, mammoth hunting contributed to the tribe's social cohesion. Working together during the hunt created a deep bond between members, fostering trust and solidarity. After success, the sharing of meat and resources also strengthened these bonds, ensuring that everyone, regardless of rank or skill, was equally valued within the tribe. The mammoth, therefore, was not only a source of food, but a catalyst for the development of social structures, helping to form the foundations of a collective labor system that would endure for millennia. The mammoth hunt wasn't just a battle of brute force, but an example of intelligence, collaboration, and adaptation. Prehistoric hunters demonstrated how unity and knowledge of nature could be more powerful than any modern technology. At every step, they not only ensured their survival, but also contributed to the development of a more cohesive, strategic, and spiritually connected society with the world around them. Now, imagine the impact these lessons can have on your life and your own challenges. How can you apply strategy and collaboration to your daily routine? What leadership and organizational tactics can you learn from these ancient hunters to achieve your personal and professional goals? If you've been inspired by these incredible stories and want to continue exploring more about the past and how it shapes our present, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any content. Join us on this journey of learning and transformation.